Hey, thank you so much for tuning into my session. Today, I'm here to talk to you about how to build a technology accountability framework that allows your team to keep running your technology systems and even workflows so you don't have to. So, let me talk about why I decided to go over this topic. So, you have probably been in a situation where you've onboarded new technology tools time and time again over the years at your RIA, and you always run into the same problem, which is team adoption. I'm speaking from this off of experience. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Charesse Spiller. I am the founder of Level Best and FinOps Co-op. Since 2016, I've worked with over 100 RIAs across the country, helping them build operations that support their team and their clients. And one of the number one reasons I see advisory firms failing is because of team adoption when it comes to technology. So, what I'm hoping we'll go over today are a few things. Before I dive in, I want to talk about the trap that we fall into. Okay. So, why does technology chaos keep happening and how it's not really the technology itself? We'll go over the problem. After that, I want to dive into the fix. So, over the course of working with over 100 RIAs, I've come up with a framework that helps take teams' responsibilities to the next level and helps your systems continue to run. After we go over that, I don't want to talk strategically only, but I want to help you also apply this to your practice. So, we're going to take accountability and integrate it into your culture when it comes to technology. And then after that, I don't want you to stop the conversation here. We're going to talk about next steps that you can take back into your practice. So let's dive in. What is the trap? So the trap is that a lot of technology problems are not technology. It comes down to holding your team accountable. And so as I've worked with all these RIAs, here are some of the top problems that I see when it comes to technology in the workspace. So, first problem, and probably the biggest problem, is that one person holds the keys to the castle. So, if John on your team is the primary person for managing your scheduling software, and then for some reason you let them go or they decide they don't want to be at the firm, then no one knows how to manage the system. And that's a big problem because when something breaks, because we all know no system's ever truly complete, no workflow's ever truly complete. You're always refining, innovating, updating, however it may be. And so that takes me to my second point. When no one is responsible, everyone is guessing. So take that same situation. Someone leaves your company and no one knows how to manage the system once they're gone. Everyone does fall into the guessing game, and then the chips start to fall, right? Clients are getting responses later. There's no true clarity from the team. It's slowing down productivity. And so that's another big piece here. Third, tools go unused or become outdated. So because you don't have someone in place to manage these systems, you may just stop using them altogether, or you may keep it the way it's always been because you don't want to make any updates because you know the disruption it's going to cause. Fourth point is, which is common too, advisors become firefighters. So when I look at the accountability chart of servicing teams, I like to see three buckets, right? Your experts. So who's providing expertise to your clients? Then you have that operations manager, the COO, operations coordinator, whatever it may be, someone who is managing the back end of your business to make sure the buses arrive on time. And then the last piece is that administrator, right? Who is, servicing the clients, getting them on the calendar, being proactive for those non-advice driven responsibilities. Now, that middle bucket operations, I find that a lot of leaders who should be focusing on their clients fall into this. And so this is what I'm seeing. Advisors are becoming firefighters. CEOs are too, because they know how to do everything. So why shouldn't they just step in on this? And then the fifth piece, Slack blows up when something breaks, right? Something is happening. I see this a lot when I'm rolling out new technology with RIAs. You're rolling out a new system and a link doesn't work. And so someone on your team messages the entire Slack channel. So 10 people get notified that something's not working and everyone's responding. It's just very disruptive and it's not helpful, right? So they all look like technology problems on the outside, but really they are management problems, right? So it's not the software, it is the structure. But since I'm already halfway through my 10-minute conversation, what I want to share with you is, how do we make it happen? How do we change? How do we change the software and structure problem and turn it into something that can actually help you scale your practice? So I came up with these 3 buckets that I want to talk about. You want to assign, align, and audit. So assign clearly. Make sure every tool in your system has an owner and an admin. And I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. Secondly, I want you to align strategically. So make sure your tools serve the process and do not complicate it. So keeping things simple. They have the saying, the KISS saying, keep it simple, stupid, is really what that is, right? Number 3, audit consistently. So another reason why these things happen is because firms treat all operations like a never-ending project instead of a function of their business. And just because if you are a firm that doesn't have, let's say, a full-time dedicated operations professional on staff, that does not mean you can't find a solution. So I'm going to talk about that next. So just remember, you don't scale with tools, you scale with clarity. So let's dive into this next slide. So I want to bring it all together. Okay. So what I want you to do in your practice is to make a technology accountability tracker. And when you're building this out and when you're designing it, these are the areas that I want you to cover in it. First, your tool name. So think about all of the technology software that you're using. And if you don't know what it is, just give yourself a month. You'll probably get an email for a recurring invoice or whatever it may be. You can look at your credit card, QuickBooks, whatever it may be. Like for me, I just got an annual renewal on a system I didn't even know I had. So that's a good way to keep up with it, is just looking at like your credit card account. So you want to write all of that down. And then you want to assign a few people to each tool. So this is where that accountability piece comes in. This is where I see advisors will think through a full-blown servicing team, right? But who is going to back that servicing team? Who is going to back the business? We are a service-based business. So you have to have people who support the service, and you have to have people support the infrastructure of the business. That's where scalability comes in. So a system owner strategically gives oversight to the technology. They make process decisions. So if something's going to impact the entire team or the entire company, this is the person you are going to go to. And then you have your system administrator. So that's more of a technical person. Hey, can you troubleshoot why this problem's happening? Or, hey, a client called and they're having trouble accessing their client portal. Can you give them a quick call and talk them through that? So that's the day-to-day manager. So they're handling all of the reactive requests that are coming in when it comes to the technology systems. They may be watching webinars monthly to see what new releases are. They do not make any changes to the technology that impacts the entire company unless it's approved by the system owner. So I want you to think about who on your team can be assigned a system owner and a system administrator. My recommendation, of course, is whoever uses the tool the most. assign them to that responsibility. And this is what I mean when this should not only go to one person. Even if you have a COO or an operations manager, one person shouldn't be managing your entire tech stack. So that takes me to the next piece, your backup. You want to assign backups like cross training on your system administrators at a minimum. For system owner, you can discuss internally if you think you need a backup, but you definitely want a backup for your system administrator. I've seen it happen too many times where there isn't a backup, their cross training isn't happening, and it is just a disaster. Advisors are holding on to staff members that they really don't want there anymore just because of there's no knowledge transfer that has happened. So you want to assign a backup. I would say your CRM, your custodians, investment management tool, or investment operations tools, you probably want to have about 2 or 3 people knowing how to use those systems. I also want you to keep track of your last review and next review date. So those who are assigned to these responsibilities, you can keep them accountable. And then the last piece, I always tell everyone, know your resources. Understand what support is available with each vendor. So even if you get a new hire and you're assigning, let's say, scheduling software to them, help them understand like, hey, this is how you get support from that system. So this is what I want to see you do. And this is what's going to help you get to that 7-figure RIA. We need to mute the noise, clear the clutter, clear the chaos, and get proactive with holding your team accountable and helping you up level their skill set. And I don't want to stop there. So this is my final point that I have for you, right? So how do you build this leader? That is the question I get from a lot of financial advisors. In 2023, I launched FinOps Co-op, which is an online community for growth-oriented operators who focus on this work. They are dedicated to becoming operations leaders in the RIA space. And I welcome you and I invite your firm to bring in any operations professional in your company who you think can take the charge on some of these initiatives that you're trying to do when it comes to creating repeatable systems in your practice, building scalable technology, and holding your team accountable. And I don't want to stop there. I'm offering 25% off of the first month paid for FinOps Co-op. Inside of it, you will receive our accountability framework spreadsheet on what we talked about today, plus 20 to 30 other templates and replays that you can hear from the past 2 years from experts like myself and experts that are focusing on marketing, compliance, HR, whatever it may be. I hope this helped you understand how you can take the reins on your technology. And I want you to have technology stop running you and help your team get on track. Build a team that can help you run your technology and run your business better. So the QR code is here for you if you're interested in learning more about FinOps Co-op. If you'd like to stay connected with me, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So please feel free to find me there. Thank you for having me.